Johnson,
Hey Andy,
how are you doing, man?
good. I'm looking forward to this second part of career and resilience.
Absolutely. So becoming resilient is key for your career prospect. So it doesn't matter where you are, right? In your career, if you're starting, if you're halfway through, and for people like us that is heading towards the autumn of our careers.
You speak for yourself, mate. I'm turning the corner and going upwards.
Exactly, spring chicken. And depending on, I mean, we're always reinventing ourselves. I think the talk with Paul Murphy is amazing because he's discovering his new passion now, right?
Exactly.
If you haven't checked, please do watch the talk with Paul Murphy, and also I think Claire Backhouse, because she talks about where she comes from, history, ended up in nutrition, correct?
Correct. So yeah.
So we often, it's not about only career. It's probably sometimes it reduce a lot of our lives because it's our life journey, isn't it? It's we're always reinventing ourselves and refining and refining who we are and finding new passion, new and old passions. Correct.
So both Paul and Claire are prime examples of career changes that are almost 90 degrees to where they are now. And that's important to realize, So Paul, as you, if you look when you're looking onto his story, you will see a railway man who is turned into a musician, and now in the last 6 months maybe, his artistic, his painting talents has been like wow, and where did all of this come from? And similarly with Claire. So Claire, like you say, who started off in academia, looking at history and literature, and has transformed herself and shown a lot of what it is to be resilient in a career path. So, and there are different ages as well. So Claire's a little bit younger than Paul. Paul is a little bit younger than I am. So there's the whole spectrum of age, type of person, experiences. It's fantastic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, guys, if you haven't checked those episodes, and please do check the episodes with Claire Backhouse and Paul. And there's more coming on Momentum Talks, and I'm really following and exciting. So subscribe, like, share, comment what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. Just come with us and help us to build this resilient community that we're building with Momentum Resilient Life. And I mean, it's very good. It touches every area and aspect of life. And we were just talking moments ago how resilience is all about the future, isn't it? You become resilient because we don't know what's coming ahead of us, and we don't know how life is going to be like. And we just have the reference and the frame of our past. And that's why we sometimes have to go for a psychologist and we get some professional help. We support us in our mental health issues or trauma. There's so many great stuff. But when you talk about resilience, you talk about resilience because of your future, because how strong and you have to be to face those things that you don't know. And how can you bounce back from any challenge and any situation that you might encounter? And if there is one area of life that we need, that is our career or our work or our profession, because we spend most of our times actually working, correct?
That's true. Yes. And that's to realize that this thing that we call work, that four-letter word is connected to the other four-letter words in our lives: love and hate. And if you're not careful, your work can either go down the love part or the hate part. And either way you have to do it, you need to work. We need to work. So the best way you can prepare yourselves for the future is continue to look towards what you love doing, how you get there, all of that good stuff. And it's tied into what we've been talking about.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I think some of us, we don't realize that two things: that we spend most of our time in our lives either working or sleeping, correct?
Well, 16 hours, they say, apart from the eating bit.
So those two elements are very key. We already spoke about, we talked about sleeping in previous episodes, but now we're going to focus about work and career and in profession. And our work is also shaped by our network. So how important it is, our network, and how you cultivate that network is very key for our resilience and building that resilience in our lives, correct?
So true. So very true. And even the way we if you think of network now, what does that mean at this particular point in time is a really big question. And then how do you then cultivate? So cultivate, if you think of it in terms of nature, it's like that concept of you need to prepare the ground, you need to sow some seeds, you need to water it, you need a bit of patience along the way before something develops. And that concept, that framework, I think, is a really valuable metaphor for how we do it. Uh,
No,
so
no, absolutely, absolutely.
I think most of the times, I don't know about you, but I get a little impatient for results. I think, why isn't this happening quickly? And some things you can do quickly. You get a project going, etc.
I think most of us are somehow, we have that immediacy bug now in our lives.
Correct. And this is where you need to be able to step back and look at the framework of what it means to have a network.
Mm-hmm.
How are you preparing the ground? And so, what's that mean? How do you prepare it? What's that mean? There's so many platforms nowadays that one can use to try and connect.
And the network's not fixed. It moves and changes depending on how you're going and what's happening in your life any given time. But I want to particularly explore something with you now that is it's called Class 87. Can you explain us Class 87? What is that for you?
The class of 87 actually was the class that I graduated in medical school from.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a while back, put it that way. And so I have a WhatsApp group. I have a network of friends, people who are historically, you spend years and years with. And I look at that and I think, well, what's the function of that network? The function of that network is primarily friendship. It's about dissociating information based on medical matters, maybe. So we might talk about certainly mentioning COVID at the moment, but it's also about encouraging each other to keep going. It's lighthearted, it's humorous, and sometimes somebody might ask a question. So I have a friend who's a, a gastric surgeon, and I say, well, I have somebody else that I know who has this problem with they've got stomach problems. What do you think? Where do I go with that? And so you can see how a historical network is able to answer specific questions based on the people that are in it. Mm-hmm. And so that's one piece of it, isn't it?
And how is that developing? How does that network develop across the years and the changes in media and internet environment? How does it change for you?
So this started for me personally when we had a class reunion, and I hadn't been in contact with these people for years and years and years. And so we came together physically. We had a reunion, and out of that physical space, we created a virtual space for the community. Mm-hmm. And it's grown at that point. And I think that's, it's kind of like the principles that are involved is that you have to keep the physical bit going. So it's like everything else nowadays, it's hybrid. Mm-hmm. There's a physical space and there's a connecting piece, which is online.
Mm-hmm. But relationships are also time bound, right? I mean, there's just X amount of hours that you can actually devote to some of these networking.
Correct. So this is the important thing, because if I was to spend all my time on a particular network, and I'm sure most of the people listening to us are exactly the same, they would think, well, do you know how many WhatsApp groups I'm on, or do you know how many LinkedIn groups I'm on? How do you manage all of these things becomes a huge question mark for us all.
So these relationships, they are both spatial and there are spatial and time boundaries, right? Because it needs a frame of reference and a place where it happens, but also a space and place, but also time.
Yes.
And that is the demand that we have. I feel, I don't know, but some of you that might be listening to us, sometimes I feel overstretched with these networks.
Yes, that's true. And
you know, can you help us to analyze, also to come to terms with the steps that we have to make sure that we not go to the extreme of mental health problems, because we start. I mean, for me, it was very easy to say I have to be probably years ago when I was like younger and a young entrepreneur. I had to be in every night of the week. I had to be part in a different network, because I thought that was the only way that I could probably win in life. You know, the more people you know, and you know the quote, your net worth is determined by your network, right? I think it was like, I don't know if it's Jim Rohn or Les Brown, one of those guys.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily entirely true. But also the value that we're seeking right now is not necessarily only the monetary one. So you need to ask the question, what is value and how value is created for me and for my life, to make sure that I achieve freedom, not only monetary and financial freedom, but a holistic or a complete, a wholesome freedom for me in my decision makings and peace of mind with my loved ones. And that those are important elements, right?
Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head. So where, like you say, historically you've just spent ages and ages just trolling from one page to the other or putting up content. And we've talked already about being a publisher in the last episode, where you need to be a publisher. Without a doubt, you need to be a publisher.
Exactly.
But the flip side of that is being true to who you are, being sharp in your personal branding of what you represent, what your key interests are, etc. We've talked about curiosity in it. So just to take it out of that space and say, right, okay, the next piece I've got from, I think it was Hal Elroyd in his book, The Magical Morning. Is that the one? Do you know that book?
It doesn't come to mind now. What's the name again?
It's Magic Morning. I may have.
Okay.
I remember the author, but I don't remember the title too well. But basically, it's about the rituals that we do regularly.
I have read another morning book about rituals, but I don't think that's the one.
Yeah, and so that is the discipline of doing whatever you do to say, whether it be brushing your teeth or looking at networking in a digital space. That a lot of people do it where they say, right, I would look at my emails twice a day. Okay. And that in the same way, you can say, right, well, I'm focusing half an hour a day on the digital space. And in that half an hour of the day or the hour of the day, I am looking at where the next lens of that is what are my interests, who's in the same space or adjacent space that I'm connecting to, because we can't connect to too many people for simply that problem, isn't it?
Exactly.
So it does take some discipline.
It does. But Let's look at now, I mean, where we are today, where all of us are, and now how are we going to move into the future? Because the big question is for career development and resilience is, as we mentioned in the beginning, is where we're going with all that. We have the development of AI. There's a lot of threats and people saying that the AI will take our work. And there is the pandemic just hit us very hard. And many companies, there is a global economy that is artificially inflated, as we all know. It's just a bubble. It's being artificially kept by the banking system. We don't know how long does it go. So there's so many, the U.S. pulling out your troops from, creating that void all over the world, increasing regional conflicts. There are trade barriers. There are a lot of politics behind decisions now in terms of traveling. So with all that in mind, all those questions, where are we going with our careers? Where will the career be in 5, 10, 20 years' time?
And those are huge questions.
Exactly. No, absolutely. I have here, I can share with you here just briefly, like if you look at, for example, some of these companies, like here we have McKinsey. So a lot of these top companies now are asking the same question, So the pandemic accelerated existing trends in remote work, e-commerce, and automation with up to 25% more workers than previously estimated, potentially needing to switch occupations. Changes is one of the most stressful thing in life.
Yeah.
How one keep resilient if you have to keep switching or switch occupation? So that's interesting. Again, the future of work here with Deloitte, new era of work from survive to thrive. So the future of the work. So by shifting the way we think about work, focusing on re-architecting work as a flow. And we talk about flow here, right?
Yes.
And using technology to elevate human capabilities. But also there is a challenge of who is using who. I mean, is technology using us or we are using technology? So BCG Group, again, the future of work. And then you have here the World Economic Forum talk about mental health focus. 50% of employees reported an increase in the use of available company resources related to mental health. So all these organizations, and my point here is not to advocate these organizations. We are not advocating what they're saying. I believe the important point, my point here is to say that everywhere you look at right now, people are asking the same question: what is the future of work?
Huge questions, huge. And so just to point people back to the last couple of episodes we did on stress and work are highly relevant. So while we're searching for the answers, we need to make sure that we are mentally in the best place to find the answers. And that comes back to resetting your sympathetic parasympathetic system so that you're not in a place where it's living in, as we describe it, the panic zone all the time. It is being able to influence your own mental space as you start and continue to explore what the future of work is. So that's important to check out as well.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And then we get to the point that the question about active or passive career management, correct?
Yeah.
Can you open up a little bit to us that point?
So it comes back to there's the old cartoon that years and years ago of the ostrich with the head in the sand on the beach, and sometimes when we feel like everything's overwhelming, you know what? I'll just put my head in the sand and just wait on it to go past. The problem is, you do that, you'll end up like the horse-drawn cart. If you're waiting on this newfangled car thing to go past, it won't. So you need to be able to get that outlook again and start looking to see, what is the future that we're looking at, and to actively manage it is to then reflect on regularly, what are my strengths,
Mhm.
How are my strengths, and what development opportunities am I seeing in front of me?
Mhm.
Not the challenges, because anybody can see problems. But if you can reset your mind and into look for the opportunities, and then look backwards, reflect on what are the past experiences I've had,
Mhm.
what have I stopped doing that may be relevant in light of, you know, in light of AI, or it may be. So, what is my current role,
Mhm.
and how is that going to? So, there's a lot of reflective piece going on here, and that the first thing to say, or the important thing to say, is that it needs to be regular. It needs to be a bit like an MOT in your car, where it is a regular thing. It needs to be put down in your calendar, needs to be put down in on your Slack, on your Trello, whatever it is, that this thing must happen.
Mhm. It's. I think what comes to mind is what Jim Rohn said once: work more on yourself than on your job. Right?
Yeah,
Keep working on yourself.
yes. Because only as you do that can you see how you fit into the future.
It's the value that it brings from being who you are and understanding who you are and understanding how you bring that value and how you can improve those processes in your life. So it's coming back to these guys. What we just mentioned is how they saw the opportunities and they saw that their lives were going in a different direction, and they were the flow that we just read with briefly with Deloitte. This flow of understanding that nothing is fixed. One thing that is important to know is that our parents would work for 20, 30, 40 years in the same place.
Yeah.
That has changed.
Well, yes.
In the same career, that has changed.
So you won't see the generation three generations of bakers, for example, or farmers. Those things have long gone, and they're shifting so quickly. So that mental flexibility, that regularly updating your skills, not making use of opportunities to engage in webinars more and
Mhm.
more. All of
and
those.
and and seeing yourself also as a brand, because that's the value that you bring, that brand value, that who you are and how you bring that, whatever you are, you bring that value and you build that brand and the brand value from who you are, correct? Your personal brand.
Yeah, and I guess I think you I in the past lectured about personal branding to people.
Mhm.
Um,
Yes, yes, I did quite a bit. Part of the entrepreneurial development of an individual, they need to understand, as I said, not only working in your business, but you're working in yourself.
yeah,
When someone is going to invest money, they're going to buy not only your business, but who you are
yeah,
as an individual. They're going to look at who you are as a person, or it could be you as a director, as an entrepreneur, but it could be you as a professional, as an expert, as a specialist. It's not about what you say, but how you say, how you present yourself, and your whole life, your story. They buy your story, they buy what comes with you.
yes, and I think that's true. So, in the sense of you need to be realistic in your branding.
Hmm.
I think so. Some of the questions I think are really important because we all can fool ourselves. Oh, I'm the best. I'm the best cook ever. Well, you got to be joking. Or
Hmm.
I'm the best, tech guy. So you need to be able to have some way of sifting your own kind of um, where you could fool yourself. And I think some of the questions I've heard people ask and use is say, well, tell me about motivation, or what characteristics of others complimented you on?
Hmm.
What projects have you had to have people helping you regularly?
Yes.
And that tells you a lot, because if you know what, you need a lot of help all the time to to project manage. Well, suggestion would be, well, you know what, maybe you're not destined or meant to be a project manager,
Hmm.
or which roles drain your energy,
Hmm.
or which projects could you spend hours on without feeling overwhelmed or tired. And the coming back to this piece of branding is that you need to ask people to be the mirrors. You need to ask your friends, your family, the people you work with, all these different facets of who you are and how best you can brand them.
No, absolutely. And also the tools that you're going to use to build that brand and being consistent. Now, the message, the content has to be consistent. Two words I really like. One is congruence, and the other one is consistency. Yeah. You have to be congruent. Your values, who you are, your story has to align. And people can pick it up very easily if you're not. And consistency, keep showing up, keep coming up, and be very empathetic with those people around you, transparent, empathetic. So that is very important for you to build a solid personal brand and understanding how the tools work and learn how these tools work today, but also being careful not to overdo it. I have done it in the past. I have a book here that I show you in the beginning, and I really recommend for anybody who hasn't read it yet. It's called Deep Work from Cal Newport. Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World. It's distractions everywhere. Everything is pulling, having an Instagram account is not necessarily the recipe for success. You have to put the hours, and you have to write, you have to research, you have to come up with different solutions. So it's not always about being online. Having time offline also is very important. Having time in nature. So that's where we link as we get towards the end of the Resilient Life Playbook series, is linking back to the beginning, to nature. When we start this journey, the whole resilient journey, your career is linked to everything you do outside your career, also to your life, your nutrition, your fitness, how you choose to spend a life, how and when you switch off.
Yes.
And don't overload. And that is very important. I think he's written a new book about living a minimalistic digital life, which I haven't read yet, but I really want to go and have a look. But those things are very important. The time off is also the time that you build your resilience, you re-strength, you refine who you are, and you reconnect to your own inner being, correct?
Definitely, without a doubt. That being able to rest and digest, as opposed to fight and flight.
Exactly right. So it's not everything goes around career. So everything that goes outside career also influences career and professional development and everything else in the life. It's the key thing is looking at the individual as a whole being.
Yes.
Instead of compartmentalizing the life in different spheres.
And I think what I've seen you do, certainly, is you've reached out into different sectors, people who you aspire to work with, or industry leaders that you think, wow, I'd like to know more about how these guys or these companies are doing nutritics, for example. Mm-hmm. And I know you reach out to people like that. Mm-hmm. So that's so important to continue to reach out mm-hmm. to areas that you're not necessarily the expert on, mm-hmm. but check for information. Continue to ask the questions.
And helping, and also how is that helping to fill the dots, right? Everything is connected. So something that you learn, archery might make you a better speaker. I don't know, but it might.
Yeah.
Just start digging in and how things connect. Hugging a tree might making you, better person at the workplace in terms of paying attention to people say to you. So everything in life is connected,
Yeah.
So now I'm into mushroom and kombucha tree. Let's see how it's going to happen in the next episode when we start talking more.
I can well imagine you being the next kombucha king.
Let's see how it goes. After being in Slovenia, I've learned quite a lot. I've got my colony, here. And I'm looking at some new species of mushrooms, not magic ones, normal ones. I'm not going down the road, but there's one that I'm looking at now in my homeland in Brazil called cogumelo do sol, or a mushroom of the sun, and how that affects your health and how it improves your health in different areas. So there's always something you can learn. There's always something that you can become a better person, or you can actually improve your health, your mind, your attention, your empathy, and that eventually is going to affect your career and professional development. You're going to becoming a better person. It's impossible to become a better person and not becoming a better professional somehow, because you want to give the best that you have, whatever you are.
Yes, for sure. So that's so important when you're touching on servant leadership there.
Exactly.
Where it is with that sense of I am better and I'm looking for ways in which I can serve people better. And with that sort of attitude, you can create your own niche in, like you say, in this particular type of mushroom that's found in Brazil. Well, who knows if in some way in the future, Tree of Life, which I think you're involved with in terms of sales, could be something that you could be doing as a product.
Yeah, we're looking on the. We don't talk much about the commercial side here, but for reasons we're still developing some of the products that we're developing now.
Yeah.
And looking at immunity, because that is something that is really important to both of us: immunity and longevity. And looking at some of these products, the way we are studying them, that how can we bring this product to the marketplace? Because we know moving forward, we don't know. It might be there's another virus around the corner. We don't know what's going to happen. And it's so, and I'm so passionate that I believe fervently, and I'm a believer that whichever we have to support our lives is in nature.
Yes.
We can find in the planet. The resources that we need is in us and is in the planet. And we need to discover it within ourselves and in nature and around us. It's out there. The answers to the questions out there. We just need to reach out. I don't like the fact that some people think that we are more important as a human beings than the planet, or we are more intelligent. I think the higher consciousness that we have and the life that we have in nature can teach us. And that's where it goes back to First Nations and also natives. And we have in North America and South America, and have all over the world, in Asia, those people, they really had that relationship going with nature. They knew how to live their lives in a way, and they can teach us still a lot.
Without a doubt, you can't have career resilience without resilience in nature. And it is not either or. It is both and.
No, absolutely. So, Johnson, great talking to you. It's been great. And we might come back and have a debriefing on all the episodes that we had. I'm working on the book. I'm working on the draft of the book now, all this research. And I'm so looking forward to be able to bring to the community what we've been researching in the past 4 or 5 months. And, it's been super exciting. And also now, welcome all these new guys coming to the program, coming to the Momentum Talks, and seeing where we're going with the journey. So if you haven't yet, please do subscribe. Help us to build the Momentum community, this resilience community that we're building with you, for you, and together. Okay, thank you very much. We'll be together soon. Take care.
Bye for now.
Cheers.